Creepers left and right, buzz like crazy. Everybody's trying to steal my lady. Spiders in the mirror and feel this can't be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night, to a blessed collision still frozen tight. Spill drinkers Cupid and the sound of her first chime. And why did you argue? We're dreaming of those eyes, the best part of my life. And when we make love, babe, don't make a sound, the clock won't turn around. Ooh, you turn around, 2,000 little fires. And ooh, your circle is spreading. Slowing things down when I wanted to race, catching up again.
Hello my friends, how are you? I'm sorry if this is a weird angle. Maybe you don't even notice. Maybe it's just me who notices. But welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. It is Monday, and would it even be a weekly reading vlog if I didn't open talking to you in my car? But my day is just getting started. I've got a million things to do today for work, Tumblr creatures. It feels like a very Monday. Like, I still feel like so tired, like I'm dragging already, and I hate it. I took Kazi for a walk, and I'm gonna get a quick lift in, and then I'm gonna head home and start work for the day. So I need a new audiobook because I finished both of the audiobooks that I was listening to on Saturday when I closed out last week's vlog. I didn't finish both of them on Saturday, but I finished the one I was listening to on Saturday. So I need a new audiobook, and like, even though I've made TBRs, I've bought all these new books, Audible just had their sale, and I bought a ton of books, I still feel like, what kind of mood am I in? What kind of reading mood am I in? What do I want to read? You know, I don't know. So, however, all that being said, I definitely feel drawn to fantasy, romance, or historical romance. But since I just did historical romance, I feel like it might be a good idea to switch to fantasy romance, even though I'm also like reading fantasy because I'm still reading The Way of Kings. But I feel like maybe what I will do is fantasy romance. So when I started this vlog clip, I thought for sure the book I was going to start with is Heat of the Everflame. And maybe I still will. But there's also a part of me that is like feeling like I need that sense of accomplishment of having finished a book that is shorter. It's Monday. All right, I'm sorry. Because The Heat of the Everflame is book 3 in a fantasy romance series. I really like that series. And this audiobook is 34 hours long. However, I want to read it for sure because book 4 comes out July 1st. So I'm torn. Do I start that and... I mean, because really, if a book really grabs you, that's not that long, you know? But if it doesn't, then it's painfully long. And historically, this series has really grabbed and held my attention really well. So I think I'll go with that one. I think so. And then I have a few other choices for fantasy romance next. I'm not sure. And honestly, by the time I finish that book, I may be like, I'm done with fantasy romance. I need to switch to something else. Maybe I won't be. Who freaking knows? Who freaking knows? But yeah, welcome to the vlog. Thought I would say hello. I'll have an update when I read it because I think that I did start this at one time, but I feel like I wasn't paying attention to it because the audiobook came out in May. And so I was kind of waiting for that magical time when I would be like, yes, I'm in the mood for that. And you know what? I sort of feel like I'm in the mood for that right now. So I'm going to start that audiobook and then I'll let you know when I have some thoughts to share with you. See you in a bit. Hello, my friends. I'm sorry, this angle is a little weird, huh? You're like looking up at me. But the light is weird where I usually film, so I have to move because I had rainbows all over my face. But I wanted to update you with what I decided to read. So I'm kind of switching back and forth between a couple of different audiobooks because Heat of the Everflame is the third book in this series, and I finished book 2 at the beginning of April. I think it was the first book I read in April, so it's been a little while. And I've read several fantasy romances this year that were kind of similar. Not necessarily the same, but they had similar, like, concepts, you know? That's pretty common in fantasy romance for them to do that. And so I felt like for a little while when I started this, I was kind of confusing it, maybe with other fantasy romances, but then when a certain character showed up, I was like, oh yeah, this is the one, I remember this. So I wasn't super engaged right away, so I didn't listen to a ton of it yesterday because I kept finding myself, like, checking out and going and doing other things, like putting on a podcast or putting on a YouTube video, because I just, like, wasn't engaging with the audio, like, it wasn't holding my attention. And I needed it too because it was working, you know? So what I finally decided to do was switch to the audio for Wicked and the Wallflower. So this is, I love this Sarah MacLean series. If you're new here, this is my favorite, one of my favorite authors. I love Sarah MacLean. I think her historical romances are so fantastic. And I started a Fable book club. The link will be down below if you want to join. I started a Fable book club with this as our book for this month, and I was reading other things, and I kind of forgot that the month was speeding on by, so I was like, I need to get a jump on this and go participate in the discussion, you know, because the book club is really new. There aren't a lot of people in there, but one of the reasons I wanted to make that Fable book club is because I want more romance readers to pick up historical romance. I want to try and save historical romance. I don't want it to go away. I don't want it to become trade paperback, and I know this may not have an impact on anything, but if I can at least in some way, some chance, get historical romance to go viral on TikTok and people to want to read them, like, I would be a happy girl about that. So Fable book clubs are really popular over there. My TikTok following is pretty small. It's not big by any means, but I'm doing my part. So I am on chapter 7 of this book right now in the audio, and every single time that I read this, like, I find myself, so I'm about that far through, I find myself just sort of in awe of how Sarah MacLean builds romance novels and how she knows exactly what romance readers want from romances. So much of this book is, you know, like, I've said this before, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's very much like wish fulfillment. And when I say wish fulfillment, what I really mean is like our heart's desires, because something that Felicity wants so desperately is to be wanted, to be desired, to have, you know, a man drawn to her like a moth to a flame. She wants to be the flame. And that's what leads to her making the deal with Devil, so that because he guarantees her that he can get the Duke to fall in love with her like that. And Felicity doesn't see herself as beautiful. You know, there's a lot of this book where she feels like if only she was pretty, if only she was so beautiful, people could not help but be drawn to her. Sorry, I keep moving this camera. All of her problems would be solved. Her financial woes would be solved. She wouldn't be a spinster. She wouldn't be left out. She would fit in if she just was beautiful. And honestly, is there any of us who have not related to that at some point in their life, where you just feel like if you just looked a certain way, you would fit in? I feel like that's a pretty universal experience, right? But the thing that really got me about this time when she was talking about being wanted and being desired, let me see if I can find it, because I actually just filmed a TikTok just barely about this, because I was like, this is so beautiful. And this to me is, I mean, there are a lot of things that romances, that I feel like is important work that romance novels do, like the happily ever after, right? Finding love that lasts forever, that's super powerful. But hold on, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Okay, here's the part. But one of the things that I think is so powerful about romance novels is everyone who reads them gets to experience that feeling of being wanted and desired, and not just physically. Like, it's not enough to be desired physically. You want to be seen. You want to be known. It's not just that someone wants your vessel. They want you. They want who you are as you are. There's no changes necessary. There's nothing you need to do to be different. It's you, who you are in this moment, that And that's something that I love specifically about Sarah's books, is that I feel like she does that intrinsically in all of them. But I think that she's very sensitive to that, and she knows exactly that's something that romance readers come to the genre for. And so this part in here, when she's talking about feelings she may have for the Duke, she says to Devil, "I hope to eventually love my husband, but I needn't be consumed by him." And he, perceptive as he is, he says, "You wish to He says, "You wish to do the consuming." She wished to be wanted beyond reason. She wished to be ached for. You wish for him to fly into your flame, to which her inner thought is, "That's impossible." And I love that this whole story takes that theme, that concept, that desire that so pretty much everyone, whatever your gender, has experienced, that feeling of wanting to be known and desired and adored. And she has a whole book about it. Now, I mean, obviously, I feel like we know, spoiler if you don't know, she doesn't end up with the Duke. Her love interest is Devil, who she's making the deal with. And I think that's another interesting thing about this, because not only did Sarah put those desires in there, have Felicity say them, but she had a man here who was perceptive enough to see that those were Felicity's desires, which I think then implies that he already sees her. He already sees who she is. And he is starting to desire her in that way. So I love this so much. I could talk about romance novels all day. You know, I do have to say, ever since I started vlogging, and I also want to say a quick shout out for anybody who's watching, the reception I've gotten has been amazing. Your comments have been wonderful. You guys really seem to be enjoying the vlogs, and I'm just so grateful for that, because I'm loving making them again. Whereas for a while I really didn't, you know, I kind of got burned out. It seemed stressful, and it is stressful, right? But it's a stress that I choose because I like this hobby, like I love it. For a while I kind of lost my love, so but anyway, as I've been making vlogs again, I have very much been wanting to just step back into my role as a full-on romance reader. But at the same time, I acknowledge that I enjoy reading other genres too, but my heart will always remain with romances, because I think there's just something so powerful about this type of a story. And that's also one reason why I get so pissed off when people, I hope YouTube doesn't flag me for that, that can't be a curse word, right? When people sort of denigrate them to something that is as basic as a palate cleanser, when I feel like they go so much beyond that, you know? Anyway, this clip is longer than I intended it to be, but I'm having a great time with this. If you want to join in my chat, like I said, I'm new to Fable, so I'm not quite sure that I'm running it right, but, you know, we're going to keep it up every month. I'll get better. If you want to join a book club that's about historical romance, with the purpose being to draw new readers, it was a deliberate move on my part to pick Sarah MacLean, because while seasoned historical romance readers will often say she's too modern, I think that's the very reason why she would appeal to a modern day romance reader on TikTok. So, this is why I picked this one. Anyway, come join us. Come join in the chat. And I gotta get back to work now because it's time. I'll see y'all later. Oh, and I am gonna continue reading with Heat of the Everflame, but right now this is the one that's calling to me most, so I'm gonna continue with this. Oh, oopsies. Hello, my friends. Hello. Okay, so I finished Wicked and the Wallflower for the third time, and you know what, y'all? This is gonna feel like a little bit of a therapy session as I talk to you about some of my thought process and maybe a little bit about what caused me to kind of stop reading romance and how I feel about it now. I don't know. So if you're not interested in that, if you're not interested in me discussing this book, I don't know why you're here, first of all. Second of all, here I go. So I cannot even begin to tell you how much I love this book. I feel like this has literally every single thing that I want in a romance novel is in here, that I want in a historical romance novel is in this book. This has every single thing that I want. We have a little bit of danger. We have a broody hero who doesn't think he's good enough for the heroine, who is also head over heels in love with her, and who always consistently puts her desires and her wishes above his own, even if that means taking himself out of the equation. There is some angst in here. There are some swoony lines. The part where she goes to Covent Garden for the first time, and she is kind of like accosted by people there. People are touching her hair, and Devil comes out and protects her. And he says that very famous line, if you've read the book, that, you know, he was there to protect her. It's not exactly what he says. And she's like, I was fine. You know, he just touched my hair. And he says, yeah, he touched it and I haven't yet. And I'm just like, oh, it's honestly like, there is very little about this book that I don't absolutely love. There's just nothing about, I love this book. I love it so much. This wasn't my first Sarah MacLean, but this was the first one of hers that I read where I was like, this is everything that I want. This is literally everything that I want. Yeah, that's what he says. He touched it and I haven't. You know, he's so upset because he came in there and she's like, nothing happened. You came before. Anything could happen. He barely touched me. And he says his scar went white and a muscle pounded in his cheek. He touched you. Your hair. His gaze was locked on it where it fell around her shoulders unpinned. She shook her head. Yeah, but not much. It's only down because I gave the women my hairpins. Not much. I saw him with a lock of it in his filthy paw. I heard him describe it, like silk. And I heard you cry out when he pulled it. He paused, his throat working to keep words back, words that came anyway. He touched it, and I haven't. I'm sorry, but that whole interaction is perfection. And there's so many of those like that in here. There are so, even like the end of this chapter, this is in chapter 9, by the way, the end of this chapter when he's like, don't ever come back here. Don't ever come back here. And then he also puts her under his protection and taps his cane and says, no one touches her. I'm going to read that to you as well, okay? You came for a dramatic reading. I know you didn't, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Let's see. No one touches her. Okay, sorry. I'm going back. So this is when she's leaving the garden in that same chapter. He turned her back to him, pushing her behind as he stepped forward and tapped his walking stick twice on the hard stones of the street. He looked up at the shadowed buildings and spoke, his words firm and clear, echoing against the stones. No one touches her. Down the street, calling out to no one, she is under my protection. And the other way, once again, speaking to the ether, she belongs to me. I'm sorry. I can't be anything but I'm just a simple girl kicking my feet and giggling when I hear stuff like that. And I love Sarah MacLean's heroes. I love them so much. I think they're just the best type of man. The best type of man who is alpha, loyal, protective, who is a little bit dangerous, but who never, ever crosses the heroine's boundaries. The number one thing that is the most important to him is her desires, her wishes, not his. And that's one reason why I just can't get on board with some of these dark romance heroes, because I'm like, I personally, you like what you like, okay? And some of them are fun to read, but they will never, ever come close to comparing to what this man does, because they don't care about her needs or desires. Even if they're like, I know what she wants. No, you don't. You know, you want that. What does she want? That's love. That is love. That's romance. That's what I love about this book, about this genre. I just, you know, I don't know what to tell y'all. There's so much in here that's just so beautiful. Like the ending scene in here, the part where she goes to rescue him, what he does for her in the end, they're happily ever after in the epilogue. This is just a perfect book. I will hear no different. If you feel differently, you're free to your opinion, but please don't tell me in the comments, okay? Because I love this book. And if you haven't noticed, over the last year-ish, I have become so disillusioned with romance books that are being currently published. Not all of them, but a lot of them. To the point where, you also may have noticed, I'm not telling you anything new if you're a regular loyal viewer, where I just kind of stopped reading them entirely. I stopped reading them. I got so freaking tired of the overemphasis on spice, about how that was the entire story and plotline. I got so disgusted with certain aspects of the online romance book community, the TikTok Seattle Kraken fiasco, the TikTok, what was it, underage biker fiasco, some of the behavior that I've seen on Instagram towards other book creators, towards other readers who prefer a different type of thing, that I'm just sort of like, you know what? I've had enough. I've had enough, and I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to read other things, and maybe that means I will lose the people who have been here with me from the beginning, but I can't do it anymore. Because what I have loved for decades, because I'm an old lady, the romance genre, what I have loved for decades became something that I could not recognize. And I hated that. I hated that so much, and I was just really freaking sick and tired of it. So yeah, I would read some romance occasionally, but very little of it really left an impact on me. Very little of it was enough to make me thirst and yearn for this type of story, this type of romance. Very little. Pretty much not really any at all. Some, not much. But here I am, you know, hearing chatter on threads from authors that I know and love, Joanna Shupe, Sarah MacLean, Beverly Jenkins, she wasn't on threads, it was in a different conversation, talking about how they are worried about the future of historical romance publishing. Maybe not in those exact words, I'm trying not to put words in their mouth, but the overall tone of that was, does historical romance have a future? Does mass market historical romance have a future? Because, I don't know if you know this, Beverly Jenkins doesn't have a new book coming out. Joanna Shupe doesn't have a new book coming out. Sarah MacLean doesn't have a historical romance book coming out this summer for the first time, and I don't even know how long. And that devastates me, okay? Now, I know they're not the only ones, because Julianne Long still has some, but she's probably still under contract, and that's why. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't work in publishing. I'm just a girl who loves these books and is really sad to see them go. So, when I hear all of that, I get feeling protective. And also, another thing about this is I have recently, you know, joined Book Talk again, but more specifically in the fantasy readers, because I love fantasy readers of Book Talk. I love that community. I love those people. It is a world different than my experience on Romance Book Talk, which I didn't like at all. I mentioned it earlier. I don't want to be aligned with that. I don't mess with stuff like that, okay? Like, absolutely not. It's embarrassing, it's disgusting, and I wanted to stay far away from it, you know? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you can look up some YouTube videos, because there are plenty of them about that type of drama. The underage biker and the Seattle Kraken. So, here I am, back making content again, reading a lot of fantasy books, but feeling this itch, this draw towards romance again. And like I say, like, it's not like I stopped reading romance entirely, but it wasn't my bread and butter. It wasn't what I was reading or making content about all the time. I get feeling sad. I start this Fable book club on a whim, pick up a book that I think would have appeal to a modern romance reader, and I read it unknowingly, lighting that fire in me again that loves romance novels, that loves them so deeply. This specific kind, the way Sarah MacLean writes them, and who writes like Sarah MacLean? Nobody, right? Who writes this type of book that has, for me, my opinion, equal parts strong romance, and also the hero just absolutely doing whatever he can for the heroine's agency, to allow her to have her agency. That's what I really enjoy, because it's never preachy, it's never didactic, like some authors can lean in that way. But this, to me, it was just pure romance, pure, beautiful romance. So I'm so happy that I got to read this again. Obviously, this is a 6-star book forever. This is a favorite book forever. I love it so much. And I certainly hope that we haven't seen the last. I certainly hope that we haven't seen the last of historical romance. For sure. Because I just love it so much. So there you have it. That's 11 minutes me talking about this book. You're welcome. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Yeah. So I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing with content. I don't know what I'm doing with my channel. You know, there are some things that I wanted to do differently this time when I came back to make content, and I have been doing them differently. As far as, like, to avoid burnout, and, you know, so basically that. But now I've read this book, I've literally just finished it, and I don't know what to read next. So I'm sorry if you were here to see me read and review Heat of the Everflame. That's not going to happen this week, because it's Friday, and this and The Way of Kings has taken up my whole attention this week. Like, I've just had the best time reading this. I'm also really enjoying The Way of Kings, but I'm not going to really talk about that in this vlog. I'm going to do a dedicated just review video. It won't be short, because do I ever shut up? No. But it'll be coming. So now I'm trying to decide what to read next, and I'm going to try two options, okay? When I went to the library a couple of vlogs back, I picked this up, and I need to read it before I have to take it back. because I just really, really want to, and also because it's just a cute little mass market, and I so hope these don't fade away because I love them. I love them so much. I just love them. But I'm sorry if my energy is being crazy. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just weird. So this one, A Prince on Paper, Reluctant Royal series. I've never read this. I've only read one in the series, and it's the older hero, younger heroine, which is super duper fun. But I also didn't realize, because I've been so out of upcoming releases news, like I just haven't been paying attention, but I was talking to Jessin, and she did tell me that she just read Devney Perry's newest release, which I didn't even know she was having a new release, a new series. So I may read that one, because that one is shorter, and the audio, actually, so it's a shorter audiobook, and because it's Friday afternoon, I really want to have this vlog go up on Monday, and I may not have a lot of audiobook reading time if, you know, when my family is home. Usually I listen to audiobooks during the day when I'm working and doing chores or whatever, but so I can't decide what I'm going to read first. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try a chapter of the Devney Perry. Did I tell you this is available on Kindle Unlimited for read and listen for free? So if you have Kindle Unlimited, maybe you know this, probably you do. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can listen to the audiobook of this for free. So that I'm going to try a chapter of that and then a chapter of this, and I'm going to pick whichever one is holding my interest more, and that's going to be the book that I go with over the weekend. But unless the Devney Perry is really not holding my attention, I'm probably going to go with that just because it's like 3 hours shorter. Because it's like 9 hours compared to the audio for this, which I found at my library also, even though I checked out a physical copy, is also 12 hours, I believe, which kind of seems crazy because I don't know. I don't make the rules of these things. Anyway, those are the plans. So thank you so much for being here and for listening and for supporting me and for being my friend. And I'm going to go back to work and read a book of some type, and I'll let you know what I think about it when I have gotten that far.
Staring out the window on a cloudy morning, trying to lick her wounds while the tea is swarming. Sometimes it's like a bird that's never shipped out. Sometimes you go around on a never-ending rail. This week has been a mess, but I'm gonna tell you, we're a bit at work, gonna make it brand new. We're gonna plot a way for a comeback. We all need some time, and I promise you that. Promise you that. I promise you that. I know this can take a while, but it's gonna be alright, girl. And if it won't be today, the shoulder you can cry on.
Hello friends, so I did decide to go with the Devney Perry, Crossroads. This is small town romance, ranch life. It's set on a Montana ranch. It seems like a summer, like a guest ranch, it appears to be. I'm only a few chapters into it. I didn't listen to the Alyssa Cole, but I did listen to this one, and I immediately got sucked in, and I'm enjoying it. So typically, I've read a lot of Devney Perry, and typically her books do that. Like, they're very easy for me to get invested in right away. I always find myself really connecting to the characters and just having a good time, even if they're not necessarily like my all-time favorite reads. Some of hers are, but some of hers are not. But I just love her storytelling. I feel like it's just fun, it's just good, it's quick to get into, and I am enjoying it. So the basic, if you don't know, this is, you know, I said it was small town. It sounds like it's a bit of a cowboy romance, which I'm here for. But we have our heroine who her family had summer vacations on our hero West's ranch. And they met when she was like 8 years old, something tore them apart, and 23 years later, I mean, obviously they're going to get torn apart when they're 8 years old, but it sounds like there was something maybe tragic that tore them apart. So 23 years later, she comes back to the ranch as the owner because they had fallen on hard times and things like that. So they have to, so West and our heroine, who I can't remember her name, because we're reading from her first-person point of view, they end up having to work together and are kind of, you know, they're a little bit at odds. I think part of that is from whatever happened that tore them apart, and part of it is also probably that, you know, Wes didn't want the ranch to sell, and now here she is buying it, owning it. So I'm interested. I'm very interested in this. So I do love Devney Perry. I think that she's a great author. She's just always been solid for me. I've really enjoyed her, so I'm excited about this one. And then I wanted to share with you this book that I just got in the mail. Look at this beautiful, stunning book. This is All the Colors of Life by Lisa A. Sato. It is absolutely beautiful. Can you see the gold foil? And look at the back. This was a complete surprise for me. I wasn't expecting this. And then I saw that it was from Kirsty, who had contacted me on Instagram. Kirsty's been following me for a long time, and I've been following her too, and we've become friends. We have similar opinions and thoughts about classics and Mary Belloc, and I just really love and adore her, and she asked if she could send me this book, that she thought that I would really, really love it. And I have, like, let me see if I can show you some of the illustrations, because I think it's just so lovely. The illustrations are beautiful. They're done in watercolor, and I just think this is interesting, right? So they're on a date, a cell phone. It says, then everyday life comes along. So I think this is going to be really, really moving. Look at this. Look at this illustration. Isn't that so beautiful? Like, I just love this. So the back of it says, I hope you felt that you were loved. From the sweet summer days of childhood to the vast winter nights of old age, our lives are full of color. We learn and change and grow, but on the inside we are still ourselves. And in the end, what truly matters is that we felt we were loved. Acclaimed artist Lisa A. Sato distills the many stages of life in all their rainbow hues into a lushly illustrated book that will inspire and comfort readers at every moment of their journeys. And Kirsty, this came at such a perfect time for me. I am very excited about this, and I'm very touched that you sent this to me, Kirsty, and I hope it's okay that I'm including it in this video. But this feels like it's perfect for me right now. My middle son just moved out last week, so it's just me and my husband and our youngest son, who, you know, he's gonna be here for a few more years at least until he graduates for sure. But I've been feeling so emotionally distraught about this stage of life where my children are growing up and moving out, because I have 3 sons. My oldest moved out 2 years ago. My middle boy just moved out less than a week ago. And I have been hesitant to bring it up because it's so, like, emotional for me. You know, obviously I know children are going to grow up and move away. I know that, right? But it's still one of those things that you expect to be, like, in the far off future, you know? So this feels like a really beautiful thing that I could use at this time. So thank you so much for sending me this absolutely beautiful gift. I am incredibly touched. So, alright, I'm gonna go have a bath, and I will probably put that B-roll footage in before. Some of the B-roll footage I include is not necessarily what is happening that day. It's just what I think is gonna look pretty together. But it does all happen that week. Alright, my friends, I'll see you probably when I finish this Devney Perry, because I've got it just at 1.75, but it's like a 4-hour audiobook, sped up, so I'll come back once I finished it with a review. Hello, friends, how are you? I literally just spent like 10 minutes trying to get my, trying to get my camera set up where I could film and not have to like hold it, or where the light looked okay, and like the whole reason that I switched from using my camera to my phone for vlogs was for ease, so that I could just talk to you all whenever I wanted and not have to feel like I had to set up a camera and lighting. So the glare on my glasses is not great. There's this trick, but we'll see how long that actually works. Anyway, let's talk about books, shall we? Every time I use my camera though, and especially for a vlog, I don't do it often because it just, y'all, I'm not a pro, right? I just do this for fun, and something that makes it not fun is when the editing process is really hard and complicated and takes me a long time. And I just won't do it, you know? So here we are, it's Saturday. My husband and son just went to go practice driving, so for my son's driving test, and I've got a hair appointment. I'm just getting it trimmed. It's been a while since I color it myself, but I don't cut it myself and it needs a cut. So let's talk about the book that I finished, shall we? I did finish Crossroads by Devney Perry. Also, shall we have a little ASMR? Maybe? Is it gonna? Okay, there we go. Can you hear it? I'm sorry, 1 minute and 46 seconds. That's what you come for to vlogs, right? You don't come here for quick, succinct book reviews. You come here for chats. And I don't think it's focusing. There we go. All right, so Crossroads by Devney Perry. So let me just tell you, I have read a lot of Devney Perry. And like I said in the previous clip, she usually is an author that I can rely on who's going to tell me a story that I get invested in, that I am not bored with, that I'm enjoying. Even if they're not necessarily like my favorite wow me books, I think she's a very solid author. And I really didn't know anything about this series other than it was new, small town romance, set in a ranch, things like that. I didn't know the logistics of how well, I didn't even know the tropes of what this was. I just picked it up because it was Devney Perry, and it was read and listen on KU, and I love those. So initially, I really liked this book. I thought it was, I sucked in right away. I was vibing with the characters. I was really interested in the plot because the way that it sets up, it has like a lot of stakes right at the beginning where the hero and heroine, they are at odds because this is his family's ranch and she came in and bought it out from under him, his dad, unbeknownst to him, like he had no idea about any of that. And so now she's the new boss and he works for her, and she's got an emotional connection to the ranch because, you know, her family vacationed there every summer for years and years and years. And then her and our hero definitely had a love affair, of course. Things tore them apart. Circumstances didn't quite line up, some missed opportunities. And here we are again, all these years later. I think it's something like, no, is it 23 years later from when they first met? 23 years later from when they first met. And they have a second chance. So right off the bat, I love second chance romances. I love childhood sweethearts romances. I love books set on a ranch. This is actually a working cattle ranch and a guest ranch, so that was kind of fun, even though we didn't get to see a lot of details about that. I still just really love the setting of it. Devney Perry's writing style is very engaging. It's very easy to read. It's very easy to get sucked into. I always enjoy her writing style, so that was great. And I thought that the romance had a lot of potential and the background plot had a lot of potential. But then as the book kind of progressed, and probably up until the last third, it really went from what, like a 4, potentially 5 to a 3-star. And that's not the end though. And I was pretty disappointed because I felt like we got to this point and it was all the result of them physically getting together quicker than I wanted them to in this second chance romance. And it just seemed like they skipped a lot of steps, and we hadn't really had the backstory of their relationship revealed to us. And I think especially because this is, you know, it is a second chance and we don't know what happened in their past, and so we're sort of relying on these flashbacks. And we, you know, the way that she is telling the story in the flashback section is really quite clever, but there was definitely a portion, you know, from maybe like the middle third where I was not invested, where I was kind of bored, where I felt like things were developing too quickly and I didn't have enough background information on their relationship to go ahead and fully buy into their romance today. Especially because there was so much writing on them not sleeping together. Like, you know, she's now his boss, she bought this land, they've got this very complicated past, and all of a sudden they have a few meetings and then the next thing you know they're in bed together, and I just don't love that. I don't love that in general, but I really didn't love that specifically because of the circumstances in here. I felt like that was just way, way, way too rushed. I didn't see a lot of subtlety happening there, and so I was getting to be pretty disappointed because I was like, look, I know this is a short audiobook, but I still feel like we should not be rushing the romance because it is a romance, you know? So then, however, I kept listening, and again, the way that she tells their backstory and their family's backstory through the flashbacks was very interesting to me because it started off very like I don't really care. You know, you're getting essential information, but you're not really getting anything to really connect you to the characters until things, you know, until they get to late teenage years, early adulthood years, and then things start really ramping up to the point where those backstories had so much weight in them that I was pretty riveted by them, equally to what was happening in the current day. So by the time we get the last third, really sort of like ramps up really slowly, and then it's like taking off, and I was very impressed with that. So I do really like the emotional impact this book had at the end, because there is some pretty emotionally devastating things that have happened in our heroine's past and our hero's past, and we finally get to learn those, and I really enjoyed that too. I did like how this book ended. I felt like that ending really made up for a lot of that middle third, but I still feel like that middle third dragged it down enough for me that this is not going to be a 5-star. So I did end up giving this 4 stars, which is better than the 3 that I thought it was going to be for a while, because I was honestly pretty disappointed, and it was such a, like, downer to be disappointed in a book from a romance author that I really like, because of how I felt about Wicked and the Wallflower, which was just like, you know, even though it was a reread, that book restored my love in romance novels, and it sort of put my faith back in how impactful that they can be. And you know, truly, they aren't all like that, you know? I mean, this is something that I have heard a lot over the years, as, you know, if you've watched my content, you know how much I love Kennedy Ryan. And I would often say, like, this just isn't, nothing hits me like her books, and nothing will, you know? I feel like there are a few authors, a very few, that just hit me so hard in romance that is the standard that I want all romances to be. And they're just not ever going to be. And even, you know, maybe if they even were, that would dilute their impact a little bit, but especially after having a little bit, I mean, I've still been reading romance, but it's not been something that I've been, like, voraciously reading nonstop. Like, I've branched out into other genres for sure. And, like, you all know this, I don't need to, I thought there was somebody outside. I don't need to rehash that here, but I've also spent some time going back through my older videos and restoring a lot of those to the channel, and as I've done that, it's been interesting to just see, like, what I've made videos about and what I've vlogged about and things like that. And I mean, honestly, all of it is just, as far as, like, my content and my reading goes, it's just a testament to living life and how people change. Nothing ever stays the same and things like that. So I do feel like I felt kind of the downer of this book harder, because just coming off of Wicked and the Wallflower, which is a book that I love so much. And I also recognize that, and I don't mean to sound like I'm not like other girls, but I do feel like I look for things in romance that the vast majority of people don't. I'm not saying you. If you're watching me, you likely align with what I want. But I feel like outside of the book social media world, like book world online, I feel like there is this romance reading appetite that wants exactly what Devney Perry put down, you know? And that's all that they want out of it. They don't necessarily want to pick things apart, and they don't necessarily want to be emotionally devastated like Sarah MacLean and Kennedy Ryan do, you know? But also, there should still be those books that just, I don't know, sweep you away, are swoony and amazing, and make you just so happy that you read romance. I don't know. I didn't intend for this vlog to get so philosophical, but as per usual, if I'm gonna be vlogging, you're gonna be getting all of my thoughts, so there you have it. So yeah, I did like this one a lot. I really liked the beginning, I really liked the end. The middle third kind of lost me for a bit, and it was tough. It was tough going there for a while. And I'm really glad that this book is short, actually, even though I was kind of crediting the way that things seemed underdeveloped in that middle third to the shortness of it. If that had gone on any longer, I probably would have DNF'd, because there really was a big stretch of this that just felt like we were rushing. Things were not developed in a level that I wanted them to be, and I was just disappointed. So, but not in the end. The end made up for it a lot, because the ending really did have a lot of emotional impact, and I liked that. So 4 stars for this one, 6 stars for Wicked and the Wallflower. I don't know if I've ever rated that book 6 stars or not. I don't know if I had 6-star ratings when I first read that or a second time read it, but I do now, and it's a 6-star. So I'm very happy about that. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video, my friends. I hope y'all enjoyed. I apologize for kind of the camera quality that's like up and down, but finished, not perfect. That's my mantra. If I'm going to be making bookish content for whoever wants to watch it, which I thank all of you so much if you do want to watch this and if you do watch my videos, but it's going to just be finished and not perfect because that's the best I can do. That's the best I can do. So if you've made it this far in the video, please feel free to leave me, let's see, I've asked for purple. I feel like I've asked for blue and green and yellow. Okay, how about you leave me any type of orange emoji? I don't feel like we've done that lately. So, I'll see y'all in my next video. Thank you so much for being here with me, for spending time with me. I appreciate y'all very much, and I'll see you later.